Hello, everyone. My name is Katelynn Rentería, and I am so very excited to continue the Reg Crowd 2021 with a few panels sprinkled out throughout the month of December. So today, I am very, very pleased to bring to you two very prominent members and dedicated literacy advocates of the South Texas Literacy Coalition. I am joined by Mr. Jonathon Vasquez and Ms. Bianca Garcia, and today is all about the South Texas Literacy Coalition. We are going to be talking about the organization's mission, their goals, their journey, and we're going to be talking a lot about literacy. I think that will be the most spoken word today, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So I already see comments coming in. That is my friend from Lab at UTRGV. Hi, Esperanza. Thank you for tuning in. And again, to anyone watching on Facebook or YouTube, if you would like to say hello or ask a question, you want to know more about the South Texas Literacy Coalition, have questions about what they do in the RGV, please feel free to comment, interact, and engage. We are going to have a very fun time. So we can begin with introductions. So beginning with Mr. Jonathon Vasquez, please state where you are tuning in from, your position in the STLC, and any other words of greeting you would like to share at this
Cool. Thank you for having me today. Again, my name is Jonathon Vasquez. You can call me John for short. I'm the Executive Director of Operations for the South Texas Literacy Coalition. I am joining you all live from my casa here in McAllen, Texas. And I'm really excited to be here. Thank you all.
Thank you so very much. And Ms. Bianca Garcia, please introduce yourself. Where are you tuning in from? And say hello to everyone in Facebook and YouTube land.
Yes, thank you, Katelynn. Hi, everyone. My name is Bianca Garcia. I'm the STLC's Program Development VISTA, specifically for Advancement and Sustainability. And I am tuning in from also my home in Edinburgh, Texas. And I'm very excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining. And again, for a little introduction on myself, my name is Katelynn Rentería, and I am very proud to serve on the South Texas Literacy Coalition board. I am a local author. Yes, I am a local author here from the RGV, as well as a graduate student at UTRGV. So I'm very, very humbled and honored to be able to play even a small role in the South Texas Literacy Coalition's projects and goals and things. And that is what we are going to begin discussing right now. So beginning with Mr. Jonathon Vasquez. We can begin actually by defining literacy. So from your own experiences and your work with the STLC, how would you define literacy for those people that might not know or maybe need a different take? What's literacy to you?
So I think from my experiences, literacy is going to be, it might be a lot different than anybody else, right? Our experiences really define how we perceive things. And so my background is not in literacy, just to let everybody know. My background has always had a struggle with literacy. And that's where I'm able to get this definition of how I perceive literacy. And so to me, literacy is this skill. It's this part of your life that allows you to understand all components of life, right? It's not only the spoken language, it's the written language, but it's the comprehension that really comes with those skills that make life more understandable, both written, visual, audio, everything, and so that's what literacy is to me. It's just this bridge to understanding life.
I love that. That's a quotable, the bridge to understanding life. I like that a lot. And Ms. Bianca Garcia, through your experiences with the South Texas Literacy Coalition, or just from a personal note, how would you define literacy?
I think John encapsulated it perfectly. However, I would also add that it's also opportunity. Literacy, when you have the ability to not only read and write, but understand and have those comprehension skills, you're able to do so many things. You're able to understand and open a lot of doors and opportunities for you to have in life. And so I think literacy for me is opportunity. If you know how to read and write, you're going to go far in life. You're going to have the ability to pursue an education, a career, and have those skills that you need to go far within those aspects of life. And so I think literacy for me on my end, I'm a college graduate. It's helped me so much because it's my degree. I have a communications degree. And so it really helped me get to where I am today. And so having those necessary skills is important.
Absolutely beautiful. It's the bridge to life and it is opportunity. Thank you so very much for your answers. And I see our Facebook and YouTube hearts, and I see our viewership climbing. So again, to anybody on Facebook or YouTube, if you'd like to say hello, if you'd like to ask a question, please feel free to do so. We can engage. You can ask our panelists questions, and we can have cool conversations. So then my next question would be derived from the STLC. What is the South Texas Literacy Coalition's mission, and how is it pursuing that? So what is the organization for people that may not know? What is it you're trying to do? And a little bit, we're going to get more into it later, but what is it that the STLC does in order to achieve its goals? Mr. Jonathon.
Okay. So I'll start off with the mission. And again, before I start off with the mission, like I said, I just want to refer back to anybody that's viewing right now. I see that there are a couple of viewers. Thank you so much. It really makes these type of events and conversations fun when we see there's an audience and there's people that are willing to listen to what we have to say. So those of you who have commented, Lebasi, Garcia, and then David, are one of our local author friends, David Leja. Thank you all for commenting. Those of you who are watching, please comment, stop by, say hello, ask us a question. It makes it that much more exciting for us to be here, right? So just to go straight into our mission, the mission, as it's stated in our mission statement, is to enhance and enrich the quality of life in our region with literacy outreach programming through community partnerships that lead to more literate communities. So the end goal for us, being a literacy-based organization, is to spread the idea of literacy so that people can understand kind of how we understand how it's important and it plays a role in our lives, but really develop an environment and an atmosphere surrounded around literacy, not just, again, writing, but reading as well, and trying to find creative ways to implement that in our community. Because as we know, there is reading and writing is just not reading and writing. Reading and writing encompasses every aspect of our life. It doesn't matter what profession you fall under. It doesn't matter what career you have. Literacy and the comprehension skills that come with it are going to play a crucial role on how you're able to progress in what you're doing. I always preach this to the people that, work with economic development and work with, workforce. It says, if you want a very skilled workforce, if you want a talented workforce, and you want the biggest bang from your buck from an individual, invest in literacy within your immediate community, right? Because the skills that are required with any job, whether you're in welding, whether you're an engineer, whether you're in computer science, any of those jobs, it doesn't matter what it is. If you have an individual with this strong literacy background and a strong comprehension background, it's going to make their ability to perform that much greater. So again, we start off and we try to really engage the family in what we do, in as much creative ways as possible. And I'll go into detail in just a bit. But again, our mission is to find a way to spread literacy and get people to understand and engage through literacy as much as possible throughout South Texas. And Bianca, if there's anything you want to add on to that.
I think you described it perfectly. I would also like to just add that we do definitely want to create those fun and family-friendly programming that is not only interactive, but that is community-based and open for all. We want to create positive and healthy experiences with literacy so that people are motivated and encouraged to read and see it as more of a hobby than work. And so that's something that we definitely want to stress because it is something that is unavoidable. Literacy, you do definitely need it in life. That is something that you just cannot seem to escape. You're going to need it in all aspects of your life, as John has said. And so definitely building those positive, healthy reading habits now when kids are young is going to make all the difference in their lives as they will see it as enjoyment rather than hard work or just work in general.
I love that a lot, especially how you said, the positive and healthy relationship with reading, because it's like John had said, it's in absolutely everything that we do. It's in, menus in a restaurant and texting and emailing. And then, of course, getting the college education and work and beyond and stuff like that. So the fact that the STLC is aware of and continues to pursue making literacy fun and something that the family can do to plant those seeds early in childhood is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so very much. So we do have a question from a local author, Mr. David Norick, asking, when is the next story walk? Brownsville and McAllen are ready. So if you all have any information or some, maybe stay tuned to be released soon. But what is the answer to that?
So I don't have an answer for that right now. We are in talks with several locations, several groups. We're looking at our calendar for next year because, and again, we'll go into programs and projects, and I'll describe what the story walk is for those of you who are unfamiliar with it. But we won't have a calendar of dates until we come back from the new year. So we have our big board meeting with our board of directors in a week from today. No, 2 weeks from today, a week from today. So a week from today, and that's when we'll discuss and have all of those dates for the first half of next year's projects. Yeah. So, but thank you for that question. Again, we'll go into more details of our story walks in just a bit.
Yes, I was going to say, for those of you who don't know what a story walk is, but no, we will save it. I have a whole list of questions, and one of them is about what the STLC does. And so then my next question to you all, and again, I know, John, you touched on it a little bit before, and everyone has a different answer, and it's always interesting when it diverges. But how did this affinity and love for literacy begin? Did it start in childhood? Was it something that progressed to adulthood? Was this just a career path you found and it's now your drive and passion and you've grown from there? So what is the story of you and literacy, starting with Mr. Jonathon Vasquez?
It's actually so I fell into this career, into literacy. Literacy found me, I guess you would say. And it's only been about 4 years since I've been with the organization. And so, like I mentioned before, literacy by far has been one of the most toughest subjects of my career, my education, And so growing up, I wasn't the best student. I didn't get, good grades. I oftentimes failed more than, I passed. And English was always that class that was by far the hardest because in my mind, I hated reading. I hated writing. I wanted nothing to do with it, struggled all through, elementary, junior high school, come college, same thing. I was at STCC/STC and I took English 1301, right? The very first English class. I took it 4 times and failed it. Finally passed it the 5th time around. And it took me quite a while to get through my education. I was fortunate to graduate with my bachelor's degree close to the age of 30, if not 30, when I was 30, something along the lines of that. And then after I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I graduated with my degree in kinesiology, and I was like, oh, I'm going to coach. I'm going to, do sports and stuff like that. And, I found myself wanting to work for like Boys and Girls Club or Parks and Rec. And I was like, oh, I don't know if you've ever seen the show, and I'm sure you have, Parks and Recreation with Leslie Knope. I was like, oh, I want to be Leslie Knope. She works with the community. She develops projects for kids, families, and stuff. I want to do that with my degree. Well, after college, I couldn't find a job, in Parks and Rec or Boys and Girls Club. I didn't have the experience. And so, I was looking around and I found this position with the STLC, and I was like, okay, well, let me see where this takes me. I have to start somewhere. Started with the STLC, didn't know what a nonprofit was, didn't really understand to the full extent what the mission was. But then as time went by, and it went by really, really quickly, I began to fall in love with the work and really understand the role and impact literacy plays in life and in my life. And so that's what I mean. It found me because it really showed me that it wasn't something where I hated reading and writing growing up. It wasn't that. It's just that I struggled with it. So therefore I thought I hated it. In my mind, I hated it because I struggled with it. And I didn't understand why I struggled with it. I didn't understand, all this, why I hated it, because until I started working with the STLC, and it really helped me reflect on my past and really truly realize, wow, I want to now help kids and families that had that same mentality that I did growing up, because I see and I can clearly see how much less difficult my journey would have been and how quicker I would have gone to where I wanted to be in life if I had a stronger foundation and understanding of literacy and the role it played, and so that's kind of how I got where I am today, in the sense of I love what I do. I love what we do. It just every day it doesn't seem like work. It seems, like we're getting paid to, have fun and create projects and do all kinds of cool things, and so I really enjoy what we do. And again, like I said, literacy found me. That's the best way to describe it.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I think that goes back to what Bianca had said, where she was, it's inevitable. It's going to find you. It's going to be in life. It's going to be everywhere you look. So thank you so much for sharing. And it's a testament to it's foundational. It's always going to have a place in our lives. And Miss Bianca, how did your, affinity or relationship with literacy begin? Was it something that happened? Was it always there? What's your story?
So my experience with literacy is a little bit different from John's. I loved reading growing up. I was an avid reader. I think it was because they always enticed you in elementary school with the Millionaires Club. And if you reached a certain number of words that you read in a year, you get to go on a field trip. And so that was not only just the excitement of it and wanting to read, but I genuinely loved reading. I remember I would always ask my mom and dad to buy me books, whether it was on Amazon or Barnes and Nobles, and they would do that because they definitely encouraged the educational aspect of literacy and what it could lead to in life, and the benefits of literacy, and so they always encouraged that. And so my experience with literacy was something that I loved. And, over the years, I had wonderful teachers. Specifically, I remember my 7th grade literacy teacher, Miss Daughtry. She was just one of the most influential roles in my life. And she actively encouraged reading in our everyday schoolwork. And I remember reading First They Killed My Father in her class. And it was a story about a young refugee from Cambodia who, during the Pol Pot regime had to experience a lot of tribulations. And so that was one of the big pinpoints of my life that really changed me and really encouraged me to love reading because of her class. And I still have a book that she bought me, and she wrote it inside of it, just telling me to always keep reading. And she was just always an encouraging figure and role in my life. And so I've always treasured literacy, and I've always loved the mission of the STLC, especially now that I'm being able to be a part of it and working with John. It makes it all more special and makes it all more impactful, not only in my life, but in what I want to do for the community, specifically for the RGB community, just promote literacy and help other kids learn to love it as well. So like John says, they don't associate the struggle with hate in a way. They know that they struggle, but they know that they can do it regardless of it.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I love that it sort of gives that nod, that teachers and librarians and all sorts of school educators, they hold these keys that they might not even, that we don't even realize that they hold, that it all begins with them. And every step of the way from pre-K to first, second, third, fourth, middle school, high school, college life, I still refer back to some of my teachers, not only at the university level, but I had them in elementary school, and I'll still stay in contact and ask questions. And it just shows that they're foundational and they're pivotal, and they deserve all the respect and recognition in the world, just because they make all of the people who are going to be astronauts or physicists or lawyers or doctors. Someone had to teach them their ABCs once upon a time too. So teachers and librarians, for sure, hats off to them. So again, for anybody on Facebook or YouTube tuning in, hello. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to share the stream to get more interaction. And again, if you have a question or just would like to say hello, or you hear something that you really like and put little clapping hands emojis, please feel free to do so. And I can pull it up on screen and we can engage and interact. So my next question would tie back to that story walk question of what are the projects that the STLC does and or is working on? So what can we see from the STLC in the communities? Are there any projects that have happened or are happening that you get excited? I know you all do a lot of programming and it's amazing, and we might not be able to fit it into this whole entire hour of a panel. But what is it that the STLC does in order to get boots on the ground and make the mission happen, Mr. Jonathon Vasquez?
So I'll go ahead and start with what we're most known for, and how we originated So again, the idea was to be able to not only focus on providing, that environment and that enjoyment for, for reading and writing for youth and families, but also provide them with that physical resource, right? That material resource. Unfortunately, here in South Texas, there is a high rate of poverty, especially in the more rural areas, the less urban areas, out of the city limits. And so the bigger goal is, always been to try and provide new free books to kids throughout South Texas. And when I say South Texas, I'm not just talking, along the border. I'm talking about all the way up to Webb County, Duval County. We go all the way up to Alice. This past year, we even supported a very, very low-income school district south of San Antonio, in the San Antonio area. And so when we say South Texas, we mean like all of South Texas, a huge chunk south of San Antonio. So we cover about 12 different counties here in South Texas that we support through this material resources, those free new books. And so that's what we've been most known for. I'll tell you, like this year alone, we provided over 140,000 new free books to kids throughout South Texas. And so that's what we're most known for. And so as we progressed over time, we try to find a way to not only connect the kids and families with the books, but to connect them with an environment, a positive experience with those books, right? Because the biggest thing we don't want is them to ever associate, like we mentioned before, associate reading and writing as something negative. We don't want them to see that reading, it's like a chore, a task, or even a punishment, because unfortunately, some kids, they'll get in trouble and say, hey, go read for an hour. Well, don't associate reading as a punishment, because then they'll never want to read, right? So that's one of our big goals, is to always try and get them to associate the books and reading and writing with something fun and engaging. And so we try to do different projects along the way. Often we've done like little, mini festivals at community centers where there's games, activities, free books, information for kids, information for parents on how to engage with each other, the questions to ask, that type of thing. But as we've progressed, we've tried to find different ways of, again, making that connection of fun environments. And so I'll give you an example. The story walks, I know that's what we were mentioning before. We had a meeting with two of our board members, Katelynn Rentería is one of them, and then our other board member, Molly Walter. And if you all don't know, they're from Cameron County. They're out of Harlingen, and we're all the way in Edinburgh. And they came together with the STLC to develop, the story walk projects. And so the story walk doesn't belong to us. We don't have it copyrighted. It was actually created by an individual out of Vermont, if I'm mistaken. And the idea behind a story walk is they'll get a book, they'll disassemble it and put the pages on display in like a little casing. So as families are walking a trail, they can stop and read, the pages of the books while they're walking. So what we ended up doing is we changed it just a little bit. And we utilize local authors instead of, these other books, because local authors, one, they have such amazing talent, right? They're right in our backyard. They have so much to share with us. And they were nice enough to give us permissions to, instead of taking the book pages apart, blow their pages up on large metal sheets to where it's this huge display along the walking trail where it's, beautiful artwork, beautiful, the text, and families can see the books a lot larger. And what we do with that is, again, we commemorate the installation with a community event where we have all kinds of exhibitors, booths, games, activities, giveaways, and then again, thousands of free books, again, to add on to the environment. And so this is what we mean when we try to not only provide the resource, but to try and provide a positive experience with that resource along the way, because now that memory is locked away in that child's brain where it's like, oh, I remember that one time I went out and I got all these good books and it was so great. And there was games and activities and it stays with them, right? With the hopes that they think of literacy with that level of excitement down the road. And so, again, that's one of the projects that we've been working on. We've done 3 of them, if I'm mistaken, in the last, 3.5 months. They take a toll on us. So we kind of pause for the month of December and we're like, let's look at our calendar and let's see what we can do next. But there are talks for possibly one in McAllen. I don't have it secured yet as far as the date time. It's in the works, and then possibly one in San Benito, which is in Cameron County. So again, these are not confirmed 100%, but if they do happen, they'll be towards the beginning of this new year. But we will confirm everything, after our meeting next week. But with that being said, there are other projects that we're working on. I'm not going to mention them right now because, again, these projects are going to be spoken about next week at our board meeting. But we have about another 5 community projects that are themed projects that we're working on for next year to hopefully implement. But again, going back to what we do and how we do it, again, that's what we do. We try to find fun, creative ways to engage families, engage kids, not just with the resource, but through an environment.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. And again, it's always just so much fun to be able to have the idea and then you put it on paper and you talk about it, but then see it come to life and watch kids enjoy and families enjoy, especially at an event like Story Walk or even just giving those books and the kids have it in their hands and they're like, wow, it's always so awesome. So thank you for all that you do. And Bianca, do you have anything to add about anything that the South Texas Literacy Coalition does to get this mission accomplished and any other programming thoughts?
Yes, I would say that our story walks are, it was a new experience as a team that we took on this year. However, we realized that creating those positive interactions with readings with literacy, are so important. And we realized that a lot of people within the community enjoy these family-friendly and interactive events where they not only get to receive those tangible resources, but also get to see what all South Texas has to offer. We do invite a bunch of local nonprofits and, local authors such as yourself, Katelynn, and we have an array of display of exhibitors. And so we really try to promote not only literacy, but the impact that other community organizations have within the community. And so we really just want to, show people within the South Texas community, what we have to offer in terms of diversity of exhibitors and in literacy. And so we always get, I know that John got a couple of phone calls, asking us when the next story walk is going to be and, the date and time. And so we realized that a lot of people really enjoy these events. And so we really just want to hone in on creating those fun, interactive and positive experiences so that kids and families can create those healthy reading habits. And so
So just to go back to the story walks, we still do have 2 currently up on display.
Yes.
We did have the first one that we did in Harlingen at the Harlingen Lake. Bianca and Leo just went by, I'm going to say like 2 weeks ago, maybe something like that, 3 weeks ago, and removed that display. It had been up for a little over 2 months. But we still currently have 2 displays up, which they're both in Edinburgh. One's at Edinburgh Bicentennial Park, and that's with local author David Norick, The Adventures of Exo and Psy. So if you all want to stop by, that one's still available on display. And then the other one we have in Edinburgh is at the Edinburgh Municipal Park, which is off the expressway on Raul Longoria. And that one is actually, it's not a local author, it's called The Nuff. And that one was a partnership through HB and the author's family. That allowed us to put that book up on display. So that one you can find still available on display at the Municipal Park in Edinburgh as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think it's a testament to, that you all truly are involved in the communities. The South Texas Literacy Coalition, you have a message and you have a goal that you're trying to achieve, but you reflect and you showcase local authors and you showcase local businesses and you'll put them up everywhere and you give them a seat at your table in order to be at events like this. And it just shows, you really are doing it for the community in every respect, the families, the students, the organizations, the people. It's always so great to see it all come together. And I know I'm excited to hear more news about story walks and continue.
And again, I just want to just comment, I guess, like you said right now, businesses. I want to give a shout out to a couple businesses in particular that have been a really big supporter of the projects along the way. And so I'll really quick, Driscoll Health Plan, Delia and Liz, out of Cameron and Hidalgo County, they've been a big supporter of these projects. Naomi Perales, Texas Gas Service, oh my gosh, that she's gone above and beyond to help us implement these projects as well. Raising Cane's, Raising Cane's has been a big supporter. Lift Up Nutrition out of Edinburgh, Boski, strings, Casa Engineering as well. Casa, they're out of Cameron County. Not only did they support us in Cameron County's story walks, but also in Edinburgh. They were a big supporter of the ones in Edinburgh as well. And so, again, we just Edward Jones Abstract. Can't forget that one. Edward Jones Abstract as well. They were a big supporter of the story walks as well. And last but not least, oh no, Charlie, I have to say them all. Now that I started, I have to say them all. Charlie Clark Nissan, huge supporter. Move It Self-Storage, huge supporter as well. The Lions Club out of Edinburgh, out of Cameron County, I'm sorry.
Blue Wave Car Wash.
Yeah, Lions Club, Blue Wave Car Wash, and the RGV Down Syndrome Association. They're another nonprofit that serves South Texas, and they were a big supporter as well. And so again, when I say supporter, they were financial supporters. They helped provide the financial capability to implement these projects along the way. And so we just want to, thank all of them for being that, because again, without everybody coming together, these projects wouldn't happen,
Yeah, one more, John. Child Fund International.
Child Fund International as well. They are also a nonprofit. Out of McAllen. So thank you all. It means the world to us that you're going out of your way to support us to make sure these projects comes to light.
I love that very much. It's team effort and for the community, by the community. It's just, it all ties together and it creates beautiful projects and products. And just thank you so very much. Again, also as a local author, as a board member, as a member of the South Texas community, thank you for supporting and allowing all of these beautiful things to come to fruition and come to life.
HEB, that's the last one. I can't leave that one out. HEB, Helping Texas. Yes, HEB helping here. Thank you so much, HEB. Again, they were the supporter for the Nuff Story Walk. And so again, I want to make sure and thank them as well. So yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so my next question sort of derives from the whole, what does the STLC do? What is your mission? And it would be, do you have any close to your heart stories or things that you remember, either when planning something or maybe a milestone that occurred, you were interacting with students or you were interacting with the community, and it just kind of, I'm going to remember this, or this is a fond memory, and you think back and you laugh or you smile or you cry. Is there a specific story that you'd like to tell through your South Texas Literacy Coalition journey that just has a nice little place in your heart?
Yeah. This was a couple years, it was pre-COVID. We had done a cute little project with Barber Stores out of the Growing Growers Farmers Market in McAllen off of the 2nd Street in the Fireman's Park. And they have their farmers market on Saturdays. And I remember one Saturday we went out and we took books to give away to the kids that were going to be there with their families. And it was called Growing Vegetable Soup. And it was a tiny little kid's book. And they had a chef there that day that got some of the fresh vegetables and made vegetable soup. And the kids were there and looking at it, and they showed them how it works. Then we did the read along of Growing Vegetable Soup. And what I did was, and it was something just goofy, but it stood out. I was explaining to them the idea of, like, you plant seeds, you cover it up with dirt, you water it, and then eventually, vegetables grow and you're able to use that as food. Well, what I did was, prior to them arriving, I hid a little beet at the bottom of the pot, covered it up with dirt, right? With dirt. And then when the kids got there, I explained to them, oh, this is how it happens. And I poured the water, and then I reached in and I pulled out this beet, and it blew their mind. It was like, whoa, it was the greatest thing ever. And, and so the reason that stood out to me was, it wasn't the idea of, trying to get the kids to believe that there was a vegetable that grew in within seconds or whatever. It was the level of excitement that was happening through that interaction with them, right? As something as silly as a 1.5 minute presentation on the idea of how vegetables grow, right? And it really stood out to me on the importance that we play and families play and that people play in getting kids excited about reading, writing, education, life in general. If you want somebody to really attempt and be a part of something, especially a child, you have to build that environment for them. You have to build that engagement, encouragement, because it's going to make it that much more possible for them to learn, to achieve their goals down the road. And so again, that I know it really stood out to me, and it's one of the things that kind of motivates me to make sure that, you know, we're engaging with the families in everything that we do. Yes.
That's awesome. And I feel like it refers back to, you know, that word. I feel like we use it a lot in maybe the business realm or the community realm, where we talk about engagement. And people think, oh, that just means you made contact with the community and you received a response. But I love that that shows that engagement quite literally means getting the excitement and getting the spark. And you didn't just get a response, it was an experience, and they'll remember and they'll continue, and you plant the seed and it continues to grow. And that I love that very much. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And Miss Bianca Garcia, do you have any close to your heart stories through your experience at the STLC or with literacy in general?
There's so many. I know that we do a lot of community events, and just seeing everybody get excited, especially the kids when they receive, you know, a book, is a very humbling experience, I would say, because you know, when John was speaking, I was kind of reflecting on my own experiences and listening, and it kind of just occurred to me that, you know, something as, you know, I would say as simple as like a book, you know, receiving that you get, you know, I always took it for granted because I was very fortunate that my parents would always, you know, buy me books, or I had the ability to go to the library, or I had teachers that would give me books if I asked for them or if I wanted it. And you know, especially in South Texas, where we have, you know, families of a low socioeconomic status, you know, something as simple as a book is everything to them. And so it's a very humbling experience when we're doing these community events and we give out a book, and kids get excited for it, because you realize that it is truly something that they value, and something that they don't receive every day or don't have a lot of experiences or you know, interactions with. And so being able to provide that resource for a student or for a child or even for families is a very humbling experience that makes you reflect and really value the importance of literacy. And not only that, but the things that you do take for granted, it makes you respect them a little bit more. And I think that overall is one of the most positive experiences I've had with the STLC, is being able to provide you know, a positive resource for kids, and giving them those resources to, you know, improve their own lives and achieve their own goals. And so it's very humbling.
Thank you so much for sharing. And that definitely nods back to, you know, you all are conducting a service, and it's in servitude to the community, and especially for the children who are the leaders of tomorrow and their families who help form that. And it is something that we might often take for granted. I know my upbringing was very similar to yours. If I wanted a book, my parents got me a book. If I wanted to go to the library, we went to the library. And I remember being so proud of, like, I have a library card, of, you know, I'm a member of this cool club. But not everyone has those opportunities. And so for you all to be able to open that door and plant that and allow it to flourish, and it's absolutely beautiful. And you all do amazing work. Thank you so much for sharing. And again, to anyone on Facebook or YouTube, I've seen our numbers fluctuate, and I've seen more hearts and thumbs up. So thank you for the support. And again, if you have anything you'd like to speak of, anything you'd like to ask, just want to say hello on this beautiful Saturday afternoon, please feel free to do so. I can bring it up on screen and we can interact. So then my next question would be looking forward. If any other nonprofit or even just individual or a teacher or educator or anyone in the realm of literacy would like advice on how to advocate literacy in their realm, either a teacher with their students or someone in their own nonprofit or business, if they want to do something similar to what the STLC does, what advice or guidance would you offer, starting with Mr. Jonathon Vasquez?
I think the biggest advice, and again, this is coming from a non-traditional approach. I often like to describe our organization as a non-traditional approach to literacy. And what I mean by that is we're not educators in the traditional sense. I'm not certified from the state of Texas. I don't have a license to teach. That doesn't mean I can't spread literacy throughout, you know, the areas that we serve, especially in a non-traditional format where I'm not focusing on trying to accomplish a certain amount of words, you know, over a certain amount of time. I'm not trying to pass some sort of exam, you know, to better understand my ability to comprehend what I'm reading. Focus on the experience, right? Because we're all different. We all learn at different speeds, different levels. I've always had a hard time reading. It takes me longer than the average person to read because I still struggle with reading. And so with that being said, is what we do differently is we try to focus on the experience, develop a positive experience as much as possible along the way. Don't ever negate a child's interest in something having to do with literacy. Meaning, I know that sometimes, we want them to focus on their level and their level. Well, you know what? If a child is reaching out and saying, I want this because the artwork looks cool, the illustration looks great. Yeah, it's at a higher reading level than I am at, but I want to attempt it. It looks interesting. Feed off of that energy that they're giving you. Feed off of that, saying, you know what? Let's do it. I'm here for you. Let me guide you through this story, through this writing, whatever it is. Let me help you get to where you can be and where you will be down the road, even though this is not where you're at right now. Because again, focusing on that experience right there, as opposed to, I'm sorry, taking the book away from the kid, saying this is beyond your abilities, your capabilities, beyond your level. That alone right there, it prevents them from progressing. And so again, to do what we do, or the idea of what we do, is focus on the experience, focus on making every interaction with that child a positive one, surrounded around reading and writing. Because again, we're not going to do justice in the long run if we can't focus on that.
I love that. Thank you so very much. And especially branching from that is just definitely to encourage all forms of reading. I know a lot of times we hear reading, we hear writing, we hear literacy, and we think a physical book, spine, covers, paper, and we read. And that's true. It's beautiful. As a young adult fiction author, that's my primary media. But reading is graphic novels, and it is magazines, and it is newspaper articles, and it is comics, and it is manga, and it is any form of media that allows you to read words, get the story, be engaged, and continue to go with it. So if a child may take that non-traditional approach and like to look at comics or those graphic novels or a different sort of media, maybe someone really gets into magazines with the articles and the pictures, and they're able to connect it. They're short anthologies where it's a short story, and they read one short story every so often. Encourage it and allow them to find that love and find what they like and find that niche. Sometimes it's the non-traditional approach that allows them to flourish the way that they do. Thank you so much for sharing. And Ms. Bianca Garcia, if there's anybody who would like to promote literacy or advocate it either in their business or with their students, whatever their position may be in their career, what advice would you give to them?
I agree with John in that the positive experiences make all the difference. I would say if you're able to, teachers, businesses, if you're able to have or give out books, even as like little rewards or little giveaways, that makes all the difference. Because as I said earlier, not many kids have those positive interactions or often go to the library, especially now with COVID. Those interactions are a bit limited, especially now, even though we are technically out of COVID, we're still within it. And so it's a very, we're in a bit of a limbo here. And so creating those positive interactions, providing those resources even, makes all the difference. Because as John said, even if it's not within their reading level, being able to give them that book so that they see it and experience it will help them. I push them and motivate them to want to read and to build their skill level in literacy. And so creating those positive interactions, those positive associations with reading will make all the difference, because they don't see it as a chore, as a task. They see it as something that they want to do. It's something that they are motivated to do rather than forced. And so if you're able to, you do provide those resources, or even if it's just books within the classroom, a little bit of reading time. I know my mom is a kindergarten teacher, and so she's always encouraging reading and so she's always giving out books. And so that's something that she does on her end, and I would definitely encourage, if you're able to, please do so, and just really encourage the positive associations with reading.
I love that. Thank you so much. And we did have a comment come in from local author David Leja saying, grab a book and read to a group of kids or to one single child. It's a simple formula. And absolutely, in the sense of, all it takes is that one picture book a day. I think the statistic goes that if parents were to read one picture book to their child a day, they would introduce them to something like 178,000 words a year. And it's the small things that you sit down and you start, and it has that big lasting impact. And this leads to, oh, yes.
I was just going to say, I completely agree. And I know that from a personal experience, I do FaceTime with my niece a lot. And my sister specifically encourages reading a lot. And whenever she wants to go get something, she brings back books. That's all she grabs is books. And so it does make a difference in your life, especially at an early age or even now, just creating those positive associations. It just makes all the difference.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And that definitely nods back to my next question, because, the Right Crowd 2021 debuted in the month of November, and we will continue to have panels trickling throughout the month of December, including this one. But November was National Family Literacy Month. And it's actually sort of perfect that we're continuing this in December, because it shows, literacy does not end in the month of November. We do not stop reading to kids or continuing to advocate literacy just in November where it's showcased. It is a year-long thing. So for families or for, again, teachers or just, students that may have younger siblings or people they'd like to share it with, how can these people continue to advocate literacy in their homes with their families, either siblings, cousins, nieces, nephews? If they want to share reading, what can be done? Starting with Mr. Jonathon Vasquez.
I like to use this example, especially in our area. There's a high percentage of people that don't speak English, right? We're a border area. A lot of our families are from, Mexico. And oftentimes parents might feel incapable of engaging with their children in especially written English language, right? We'll give them a book, and if it's in English, they might not necessarily be able to read it or understand it, and they might feel unable to engage with their children. However, I'll give the advice that, especially with the younger children, kids that are still learning to read or aren't even in school yet, that engagement can still be possible with the book, meaning you open up the book and you create a story based off of the illustrations, right? My niece, I remember when she was younger, before she knew how to read, she would get the book and she would make up and pretend that she was reading the words, right? And it was a whole completely different story, but she was still making a story, right? And so again, that experience, that engagement, that interaction, all of that, goes a long way, regardless of your capabilities, abilities, your language barriers, whatever it is. So the engagement, right, surrounding that book is what's important, because that's going to want them to keep opening up that book and opening up the next book. And that's what we want, right? We want to get to a point where they want to open up that book or any book and more books down the road, because then again, all those skills that come along with reading and writing will develop a lot easier down the road because of it. And so again, just creative ways. You're limited to, what's the best way to describe it? You're limited to whatever you feel like you're not comfortable with, or wherever you end up stopping at, right? There's not really a limitation unless you allow there to be, So again, creativity, and willingness to try something new, that's going to be your best bet, especially when it comes to engaging with families.
Thank you so much for that answer. And I think it bridges back to what you said earlier about the, literacy is a bridge to life of, that those memories and the experiences. And, there are different experiences that we all have. So like Spanish speakers versus non-Spanish speakers in English, and, an English speaking child, maybe not so much for the parents. And so to be able to be creative, think outside the box, and still make those memories and still perform it is absolutely possible. And that was such an awesome answer. I love that. I've never thought about that even with the just pictures, a child who may not even be at the ability to read yet can still establish the stories and have fun with it. And so that was awesome. Thank you. And Ms. Bianca Garcia, how can families or people continue to advocate literacy and spread that and allow it to grow at home?
I think, leading by example is important. Teachers do what they can in the classroom. They teach them what they need to know, and they do ask that the parents, help them out by practicing with them. And so I think that the same theory applies for literacy, is not only helping to encourage that as well within the household, excuse me. And so having parents, interact with their kids, like John said, even if it's just reading with them or, having them make up a story, it's very important that parents lead by example and help to create those positive associations and show that, literacy can change your life, and that it's important to, practice those skills and develop them. And I think that, not only does it need to come from the classroom, it needs to come from home as well. And so having parents, read with their kids before bed, for 15 minutes a day, pointing out little things, having them, make up stories. Like John said, storytelling is such an important and, life-changing ability that, everyone should, interact with. And so creating those stories and building your skills at home is incredibly important. And so even if it's taking your kids to the library or even to our story walks, and within our community, creating those positive associations, leading by example, is extremely important. And I think that if you create and, develop those positive associations with your kids at home, it will definitely help them within the classroom. And so that's something that I would definitely encourage parents to do, even if you're not able to, your skill level isn't at the level you think it should be. Like John said, you're only limited in what you think you're limited in. And so, just trying, learning with your child as well is extremely important. And so just, creating those positive associations, reading with them, interacting with them, practicing with them, that is extremely important. And so I think that's one of the best advice I could give, especially as my mom being a kindergarten teacher, she's always telling me that, we can do so much in the classroom, but we also need the help of the parents. And so I think that's extremely important.
100%. The love of literacy definitely begins at home before they reach school. And then in school, teachers and librarians 100% solidify it. But at the end of the day, they go back to the parents and to the siblings and the aunts and the uncles and the grandparents and cousins and all sorts of things. So thank you so very much for sharing that sentiment. And my final question to you all is a little bit more of a fun one. And it is, what are your favorite times of the year in respect to literacy? So I know March, I am so excited to be able to put on my Cat in the hat and my giant bow tie and gloves for Read Across America week. But either working in the STLC or just for yourselves, what are your favorite times of the year, whether it be National Poetry Month for April, Read Across America, National Literacy Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, maybe programs to help prevent summer slide and things like that. Are there any specific points throughout the year where you go, yes, we get to do this? Starting with Mr. Jonathon Vasquez.
Yes. So every day for us is literacy day, month, year, week. We live and breathe it. With that being said, my most favorite time of the year is anytime it's cold outside to do what we do. Because like I said, we give out thousands and thousands. We're in all over the place. So we are always interacting regardless of the time of the year, festival, this and that. And it's fun. It's always fun. However, it makes it so much easier to do when we're not drenched in sweat out moving books and boxes, because you have to think 140,000 books in 12 months, it has to be moved by someone, right? It has to be boxed, and it's usually us and volunteers and stuff, and we're out in the communities and this and that. So anytime that there's cold weather, it goes such a long way. So I will say during the winter time, that's probably the best time. And so we've had to take a step back being out this Christmas time, winter time, as far as us being in the communities and out there directly as a staff, just because we're a little short staffed right now. We're coming off of this whole COVID pandemic, and it's hurt a lot of organizations that are in out in the communities. But traditionally the wintertime, Christmas time is when we enjoy it the most, right? I will tell you, we will be, for example, we'll be in Harlingen on the 14th of December at the Harlingen Library. They have their annual Christmas festival that they'll be doing, and we'll be out there giving out books. It'll be, super nice. And then we have one more project, I believe, on the 16th that we will be assisting the Children's Hospital out of Edinburgh with their community festival as well, giving out books. So hopefully the weather is nice and cool on these days. But yes, traditionally wintertime is the best.
Awesome. And what's better than snuggling up with your blanket and cup of cocoa and a good book? But definitely wintertime is wonderful to just read in general and enjoy stories. And Miss Bianca Garcia, do you have any favorite times of the year, either specific days or themes or just in general?
I would say I definitely do agree with John that cold weather is the absolute best when you are packing books or giving them out at community events. I can only tell you how hot it was during our story walk events when we put them on. It was absolutely insane. But, regardless of the temperature, it's still all enjoyable. We do definitely love what we do, so it's not work for us. But cold weather does make it better. I would definitely say that my favorite time of the year, because my parents are educators, I would say helping kids, resist the summer slide or beat the summer slide. I think that, when you're at home for, 3 months, you definitely want to relax. You don't really want to read. You kind of want to just enjoy, watch a little bit of TV. And I think that, encouraging kids to, still develop their skills, even when they're not in school, is extremely important. Help them to build on their literacy foundation or just other skills as well. It doesn't have to be literacy, but, helping kids combat that summer slide and within those months that they're not in school, I think is truly important. And it does definitely stem from having educators as parents, wanting to see their students, excel within the next grade level and helping them develop those skills even if they're not in school. And so I think that time is my favorite time of them with literacy. All year is perfect for literacy, but those are kind of the ones that my heart is towards.
I love that. Thank you so very much for sharing. And we are hitting that hour mark to conclude this South Texas Literacy Coalition panel as a part of the Right Crowd 2021. So I would like to give our panelists time to give final remarks, anything you'd like to share, shout outs, upcoming projects, final things before you say farewell and bow out on this Saturday afternoon, starting with Mr. Jonathon Vasquez.
Yeah, of course. So number one thing, we always ask everybody to follow us on social media. That's how you will be notified if there's any type of projects or community events in your area, being that we do cover a large area of South Texas. And then again, as far as shout out goes, I want to give a shout out to, everybody that's constantly supporting us. Our board members, specifically Katelynn Rentería, she's one of our board members, all of our current board members right now, just for all the support. Want to give a big shout out to our staff, Bianca, Leo, Dr. Ida as well, for, again, helping make what we do possible, right? So, again, just thank everybody who's always supporting us. Thank you, everybody who's always there for us. It really means a lot, as far as, especially when you're fighting, the good fight for literacy. So thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. And Ms. Bianca Garcia, anything you'd like to say as we bid farewell to this virtual engagement?
I would just love to say thank you to the community, for, enjoying the services that we provide and, and always asking us, when's the next event? It truly makes us feel like we are making an impact within our community and we are here to serve you. And so, I just want to say thank you for all the support that we receive from, kids and families within the community, from the organizations that support our projects and endeavors. The Story Walk was a new endeavor. We didn't know how it was going to turn out. And so I just want to say, and I would say on behalf of the STLC, thank you, for all the support that we have received from the community. It truly means a lot to us. And it continues to push us to do more for our community and helps us do what we do within the community. And that's promote literacy, create those positive associations. And we could not do that without the support that we receive. And so thank you so much. And from the bottom of our hearts, it truly means the world to us. And so thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. And I know for myself, as a local author, as a member of this community, and as a board member, again, thank you to the community and for everyone whoever sponsors the engagement on social media posts. When I see the hearts and when I see the shares, the message is getting spread to anyone who attends the events and the families who are impacted, just anybody who may have their hand in passing by STLC, either direct engagement or sharing a post or just seeing what they're doing in the community and promoting it. Thank you so very much. And to everyone who tuned in today to drop a comment and say hello, or who may have shared the stream, thank you for tuning in. And if you would like to see more about the South Texas Literacy Coalition, they do have a Facebook page, facebook.com/South Texas Literacy Coalition, or you can search up South Texas Literacy Coalition. And their website is southtexasliteracycoalition.org. There you can find information about all of the amazing staff, information about the board members, projects that are going on, ways to stay engaged, way to get interacted with this. And I would just like to thank you both for taking time out of your day. It's a Saturday, and you came and you talked with me and you were able to share your stories and your insight. And I appreciate you all so very much. And again, I'm humbled to be a part of something as beautiful as the South Texas Literacy Coalition, where you have your hand all over South Texas. Like John was saying, that it's, it's not just, Cameron County, Starr County, Hidalgo. It expands farther than people may see. And the engagements that you do are always so creative and innovative. And I'm very, very honored to serve in the capacity that I can to help make these things happen. And I'm looking forward to 2022 and seeing what the STLC has in store.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
Of course. And so again, everyone on Facebook and YouTube, thank you for tuning in. The Right Crowd will not end with this. There will be a panel tomorrow and a final one in the dates upcoming. So thank you for helping to support. Thank you for being here today, and we will see you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.